Hello and welcome for another episode of Ask Reddit. For today's episode, Bill Gates said, "I will always choose a lazy person to do a difficult job, because a lazy person will find an easy way to do it." What's a real-life example of this?
I was working as a stock boy in a supermarket, and when we had to fill the milk cooler, people would bust open a 12-pack of milk cartons and put them in one by one. On my first day, I just placed the 12-pack in the cooler and cut the plastic off on one side with my box cutter, and yanked it from under it, and the look of the store manager and the other employee who was training me was pure bewilderment. From that day, everyone did it my way.
Haha, I did this during the start of the pandemic with paper towels on an empty shelf, thanks COVID panic buyers. Instead of opening the box of single-roll paper towels and placing them on the shelf, I just cut off the bottom of the box and slid the rolls right out.
Start of lockdown, my 9-year-old son was having worksheets emailed to complete at home. One day, left him at the laptop doing his maths while I made some dinner with my 3-year-old daughter. Walked into the living room with his dinner to find him asking the Alexa all of his maths questions.
I wouldn't call that lazy so much as an intelligent use of the technology at hand. Learning and utilizing technology is probably a much better lesson learned than whatever the particular maths problems he was working on.
I take your point, but he was actually doing it in the least efficient way possible. He memorized the equation he needed to ask, say 327 times 8, walked over to Alexa, asked her the equation, walked back to the laptop, walked back to Alexa to ask her again because he'd forgotten the last 2 digits, walked back to the laptop, entered the answer, walked back to Alexa to check it again. He had to keep walking backwards and forwards because he knew it was cheating, so he'd turn the volume down so I wouldn't hear from the next room. So while he thought he was being clever, he was actually taking more time to figure the answer out using the Alexa than it would have taken to do it himself. Plus, of course, there's the fact he was working on a laptop that has a calculator, and a Cortana assistant that does the exact same as Alexa, and he knows how to use both the calculator and Cortana but still chose to cheat in the least efficient way possible. Worked as a laborer at a nursery one summer. Daily tasks included manually watering 15,000 plants each day. Put together a back of the napkin plan to build an irrigation system and spent the next few weeks building it with some money from the boss. That system is still running 15 years later and does all the work now. I did automate myself out of the job and had to find another eventually. Couple of years later, got my engineering degree. I'm convinced engineers are inherently lazy people that will spend a disproportionate effort to make things easier.
That is precisely what engineering is.
My brother-in-law spent a whole summer trying to figure out how to fix his sagging deck at the lake, which he could in theory crawl under and jack it up. It would have been a tunneling project. It's a 60 by 60 area all along 2 by 6 boards. Massive. I sat there long enough with enough beers in me to come up with the idea of just cutting a square out of the sagging area about 3 feet by 3 feet, jacking it up, then re-screwing down the boards. He paints the thing every spring with a roller anyhow, so it's not like the square cut shows up. He thought I was a genius. I was just lazy.
Finally, a non-computer story.
We had to hold a thermometer in water in chemistry class. It probably was only a 20-minute experiment, but your arms get tired after a couple minutes, and you can't let the thermometer touch the bottom of the pan or it won't get an accurate reading. So instead of sucking it up and just holding the thermometer, my lab partner built a contraption out of lab books and paper clips to somehow hold the thermometer in the water without it touching bottom. It was the stupidest looking thing you would ever see in a lab class, and our professor even walked over and said, if it looks stupid, sounds stupid, but it works, then it isn't stupid. My lab partner and I joked that he wasn't talking about the contraption but the intellect of my lab partner. I had a math teacher that actively encouraged his students to be as lazy as possible, defining lazy as actively searching for ways to do as minimal work as possible. His logic was that, the way math is now, it could always be simplified and still work the same, someone just needs to be lazy enough to find that.
My favorite math teacher used to say that the best solution is the one you find.
I was a paid intern at a large company during one summer back home from college. My work 95% consisted of using SAP, to Excel, clean data and generate reports, occasionally create some tools someone needed. In the first 2 weeks after getting a hang of my responsibilities, writing all the Excel formulas needed, and basically automating 99% of my work, I was chilling. I went from actually working from 9 to 5 to maybe 1 hour tops a day. Finding, importing, cleaning, and reporting usually took hours, but with all the formulas it took 2 minutes of clicking. I then helped the other cool intern get his shit set up so we could both just chill. We could take 2-hour lunches, paid for by the company, and nobody said anything, cause we were just getting so much more done than the other interns. Of course I helped for special tasks when asked, but those were simple 20 minutes tasks building something in Excel. Overall, was the easiest/stressless internship of my life.
What I'm getting from this thread is I should learn Excel and how to automate stuff.
I'm getting the same idea. Might be good to learn. As for any tips on where to get started?
Learning macros with VBA is a good start for simple automation. Also, don't underestimate the power of a VLOOKUP or pivot table. More experienced people will have better suggestions than me, but that's where I started getting a good grip with Excel.
The clerk was asked to bring 145 white papers into the office. He doesn't want to count the papers manually, so he printed 145 blank sheets and took them in.
Smart. He used a machine that counts as one of its functions, but not the primary function to do the counting for him. It's just enough outside of the box that most people wouldn't think to do it at all.
Plus, as a bonus, they're all nice and warm.
Warm and fuzzy.
One of my favorite examples is Andy Kim. And I'd like to preface this by saying that I don't think Kim is lazy so much as a genius. Andrew Yua Kim was a singer/songwriter who became famous under the stage name Andy Kim. He achieved success writing songs for bands like the Archies, possibly most notably Sugar Sugar. After his success, he coasted for a while until his record label dropped him for lack of output. At that point, he created his own label and cranked out hits like Rock Me Gently. When they saw this, the big record labels then bought his label under the assumption that they would then profit off of the songs he wrote and performed. He then very shortly stopped writing songs and largely lived off the sale of his label. Work smarter, not harder.
Work smarter, not harder. And be a genius. Let's not forget the most important part here.
It took me like 3 months, but I automated a data pipeline to extract data, clean it up, and spit it out in an Excel or PDF format to one of our clients. I walked over to shoot the S with the lady who handles my client and gives me tasks. And she told me we make $40K off them every month for that automated job. I need to go start my own business.
As a developer, at least, it's quite common that everything you create at work belongs to the company. So make sure your script doesn't belong to them before you try and start a business with it.
Take this guy's word. My wife's best friend's husband is an engineer. He worked for a company making industrial machines. He decided to go start a company of his own. Asked the lawyer, and the lawyer said it should be no problem. 6 months down the road, he got served a court order to shut down because he was using IP from his previous job. Ended up going to court and got wiped out. Hundreds of thousands of dollars penalty, future salary garnishment, the whole works. Even if the first lawyer says it's okay, get a second opinion and get it all written down. Spend $15K on lawyers up front or lose your ass.
See, this is something people don't understand. If you think you're gonna do something that makes a lot of money, stop. Just stop. Work on it at home, quit if your contract requires it. If you had an idea on the job, discovered something on the job, etc., your company is not entitled to it. If you spend company time building it, they are. When Carl Friedrich Gauss, the famous German mathematician and physicist, was in elementary school, around 1784, his class was assigned the busy work task of adding all the numbers from 1 to 100, 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4, and so on. This usually kept the class quiet for half an hour or so. 7-year-old Carl was sitting quietly with the correct answer, 5050, while the rest of the class was just starting, so the surprised teacher asked him how he came up with the solution. He replied that he added 1 and 100 and got 101. Then he added 2 and 99 and got 101, 3 plus 98 equals 101, and so on. He realized there was a pattern of 50 pairs of numbers with each pair adding up to 101. And 50 by 101 equals 5050.
I wish I had this gift to be inquisitive about number patterns. I don't trust or follow my instincts enough in math.
When I was in college, I had a job at an Italian fast food place, with a reputation for its breadsticks. They came in frozen and needed a bit to thaw, So we'd take a giant 3x4 FT aluminum baking sheet, spread them out in a single layer with no spaces and cover it with a plastic bag, then leave it sit in the walk-in overnight. The next day you'd have to get a pair of tongs, and move each stick to a new tray, turning them over, then cover the new tray with the bag and let them sit on racks for a couple of hours, before brushing on the garlic butter sauce. This was tedious enough that you'd usually be ready to brush the butter on the first tray as soon as you turned the last tray. I was given this task for the first time one morning, and just did not want to deal with it. I realized if I put the second tray upside down on top of the first one then turned it over and took the first tray out, I got exactly the same results. Blew the boss's mind when I did the 3-hour job in about 15 minutes. I was given a $0.05/hour raise.
Ah. Yes. 5 pence seems adequate for saving 3 hours each time.
Back in high school, a lot of kids used to walk through his park to get home/to school. A portion of the path went into the woods because it was just quicker than walking the actual trail. At one point in the walk through the woods, you had to go up this small but tedious hill. Nothing major, but it took like 10 seconds of hard work to go up it. You couldn't go around because one side was a small cliff to the creek below and other side had dense trees. One summer, a bunch of us got together and decided to just dig through that hill to make it flat. It took like 14 of us 3 good days to get through it. It was a hard 3 days, but it was definitely worth it. Saved 10 seconds of hill climbing every morning and afternoon, 150+ days of the year. And it wasn't just us, but hundreds of other kids who took the same party every day. Sometimes you need to put in a lot of work so your future selves can enjoy the easy way out.
Some future railroad surveyors right here.
Well, there you have it. Comment down below of what you think about today's episode. Leave a like if you like the video, and subscribe for more videos. Thank you for watching and have a great day ahead.